In this video, we're going to try to avoid using the hard-coded addresses in the link building process. And Spring Framework has a very interesting method that we can use to do that. It's called methodOn. Let me import that method. I'll copy and paste this, and then when we go to controller link builder, we can select a method on. Okay, so now when we have this method on, let's try using it. I'll scroll back to my method, and here we are hard coding addresses. So what we can do, we can add a method on into our link to function like this, method on, and then surround the user controller with the brackets, and then call a method on the user controller. I put dot, and the method is called get user address, because this link is to get a single user address. So I'm going to simulate a method call on user controller. A method name is get user address, and that method accepts two parameters, user ID and address ID. So what I will do next, I will delete everything else that we've added, the / user ID and the / address. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to delete / as well, and only leave with self relationship. So what this method does is it's going to inspect the user controller, and then it's going to inspect the method mapping that is called get user address, which this user controller has, and then it will help link to build that link and build the correct path URL that this method requires. And the big advantage of using methodOn is that we don't really need to hard code the address in our URL path. So let's save this now, and let's run this application and see if the address link is built correctly. Okay, my application is running. I'll bring Postman, and I'm going to go into the HTTP request that gets a single address for a selected user. I'm going to send this request, and here we have 3 links, and the first one is a link to the address itself. So it's exactly the same URL that we have just executed. And please notice that even though we did not hard code the addresses, the URL is built for us, and the user ID and the addresses and the address ID is built into the URL of this link. Now I'm seeing one issue here, that the application context and users request mapping of my root resource class doesn't have a /. Now let's go to our controller and we will try to fix it, because the link to inspects our controller and it gets the mapping that we use here, and our request mapping is just users. It doesn't see that /. So let's add it here, and it should still work for us. Let me rebuild my application, and let's see how it works now. So I'll repeat this request, and here we go. I have application context, and then I have /users, /user ID, address, and so on. So let's now change the other URL that we have so that we don't have to hard code addresses as well. Let me scroll down, and here we have, for example, a link that uses /addresses. So let me use methodOn in that link as well. So I'm going to insert methodOn and then surround user controller with the brackets, and now I'm going to call get addresses on this controller, and get addresses takes user ID. So I'm going to use user ID, which is one of the arguments in our method, like this, and the rest I can delete. I can delete /user ID and /addresses and leave just the with rel to create a relation between this link and the content it's being used in. Okay, so now let's save this and let's rebuild our application again, and let's send the request and see how it works now. Okay, I get back a response and I have a link for a list of addresses, and my link looks correct. I have /users, user ID, and then /addresses to get a collection of addresses that this particular user holds. So the link is built and I didn't have to hard code the addresses or the /users. The link is built for me by the framework. Okay, so let's continue.